right, and I'm going to pull Facebook up on my phone so I can see if anyone comments. So it should be going live any moment. If we're not live already, let's see.
Here we go.
We're live. No, wait, that's an old live. Let me try again. There we are. All right. We are live. So I'm going to put my phone so I see it. There we go. Okay. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Reset community, our brand new community. We're here to connect, to collaborate, to support each other, to uplift each other, to inspire and enact positive change, a rippling effect in our lives and the lives of others. And so one of the ways that we're going to do that in this community is for us to be able to share our stories, because so often we go through crap in life, but people don't see that. We scroll through social media and we see these pretty pictures or these quick blurts, right? Like into someone's life, but that is not really what's going on behind the scenes. And so we wind up in this compare and despair kind of loop. I see it all the time. We feel crappy and we're not pleased with our lives and we feel stuck and so on and so forth, feel so alone. And so I have today with me Jonathan. For those who don't know me, I am Dr. Toni Warner McIntyre. I'm in the midst of rebranding a little bit. So I usually identify myself as Dr. Toni. You might hear me messing around with different ways to identify myself. And that's just me going through this phase of what's the best way for me to step into this and be there as a support to you, as well as continue to be authentic to me. I grow personally and professionally. But Jonathan is an amazing, amazing human being. We met in networking groups like through COVID, right, Jonathan? Like we haven't actually ever even met in person, but we see each other
Yeah,
almost every single week.
yeah, it's true.
Isn't that amazing? So
I
amazing.
was at a networking event today where I met people for the first time yesterday. So funny how COVID is the new way to communicate.
So interesting. It really is. But I'm glad that we've gotten the chance to connect, because Jonathan is filled with surprises. Like you have a conversation with you, Jonathan, especially in the networking groups, because we're talking about our businesses and such. But then when we have personal conversations about our personal lives, it's like what I just said. You're like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Or, right. And so there's these stories that we have that kind of lay as background throughout our life, but foundation throughout our life too, through our experience. And I was like, I have to ask Jonathan if he's open to share just a, and this is just a part, right? Like just a part of your story, Jonathan, because I know you're filled, I'm sure, with so many stories. But before we go into your challenge that you had to overcome and that really completely changed your life out of nowhere, completely unexpected, can you tell us a little bit about just who you are now, like what you currently do for work, your family, what you enjoy as a pastime, or anything unusual or funny about you, and just kind of help us connect with who you are today?
Um, I work for Dynegy Energy. I'm an energy broker. Pretty much, I get paid to save people money on a bill that they already paid. So I love what I do. I'm in charge of all the 5 counties here in the Pico area, but I'm authorized to do the whole state of PA, Ohio, and Illinois. I just love it, green energy aspect of life. My background comes from marketing and advertisement. So, I took a different leap of faith and love the company I work with. As I tell everybody, I hope this is the last company I work with before I retire. I I just love I love where I am. I love where I'm at, and I love what I do. So, what I like to do pastime, I like to travel. I like to do spontaneous trips. Like, give an example on Thursday, let's go here. I'm like, yep, let's go. Just like to do a spontaneous trip. I'm married. I'm going on 3 years. On my second marriage. I have a daughter that's graduating from college this year. I have a son that's graduating high school this year, and have my youngest that's graduating middle school to go to high school. So I got graduations heaven coming up in the next couple of weeks. Plus, my nephew just graduated from Virginia Tech last weekend. So it's the young generation of my family turning to the next levels.
A lot of graduations. Wow, wow, a lot of celebrations. That's exciting. You said
Yes.
you said words that really stuck out to me, which I feel like we hear maybe commonly, but I think applies to what we're going to talk about in a pretty significant way. You said I took a leap of faith, and I know you were talking about changing career paths from marketing into this more energy, green energy area, but I have a feeling it runs even deeper than that. Like you taking a leap of faith, I think plays a bigger role
Yeah,
in your in
that's a
your
whole
life.
other story by itself. So, yeah,
Does that feel pretty strong for you, taking a leap of faith?
based on what I've been through, the 25th of this month, 2010, was a life changer. So, you know, everything from that day is, let's say, God wasn't ready for me yet. And because of my mindset in my head against what the doctors told me to do, I am here today to talk to you. So that's pretty much it's deep. It's very deep because when they say you fall to the bottom, you have to get back up. That was me.
And no one would ever know, right? I mean, no, just no one would ever know. So, Jonathan, can you kind of walk us through that life-changing, completely unexpected trauma, really, that you
I'll,
experienced?
I'll start off first. Is I grew up very athletic, played football, played sports, always in tip-top condition throughout my life. And because of that is the reason why I'm here today.
Mm.
Um, but in May 25th, 2010, day I never forget, I get up to go to work and I had to run home during my lunch break. And on my lunch break, I was driving on 476 at a steady pace. And coming around a corner, traffic stopped. I saw it, but the truck behind me didn't see it.
Mm.
Me being the that I am, which I'm a caring person, even when I shouldn't be, knew that I was going to be hit, and there was a car in front of me, and I knew that that truck behind me was going to hit me. Like I just knew it because his speed. I literally got out of the way of the cars in front of me, took that whole hit all to myself, and they said my car flipped over 5 to 8 times. I remember uh, the car was upside down. And I crawled out, and I crawled out to the back, and I remember because I was on my way to pick up someone, and I'm like, I'm not going to make it. So I told the person, I'm like, can you call this person and tell them I'm not going to make it? And I gave that number, and that's all I remember.
Mm.
Um, 2 months later, woke up in a hospital. And again, I was a very athletic guy. I woke up, I had all type of stuff going on. When you go to the doctor, you have all these different things in and out your body. I couldn't talk. I had
The trach.
I had in my neck, in my throat. I was attached to a tube. I lost 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
First I woke up is I was athletic, so I was muscular and I was skinny. First thing I noticed, I'm like, what the heck? I look at my arms. Then I remember I saw my leg. And I looked at my leg. I'll tell you, when you look at your leg and your leg doesn't move, it's the creepiest feeling in the world. Like I could see my leg, but I couldn't make my leg move. And when the doctors and my family finally saw me wake up out of the coma, they come and talk to me, ask me how was I doing, but words wouldn't come out my mouth. Very crazy because I couldn't talk. I was messed up from the floor up. It was an experience I had to go through. Again, I was 225 probably. Before the accident, I was 135 pounds. So, I lost a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was in the hospital, in order for me to get out the bed, they had to strap this thing around me and pick me up and put me in a wheelchair. And the doctors kept saying, John, you're going to be handicapped for the rest of your life. And I looked at him, I was like, okay. But I know this is going to sound crazy. I had dreams every day. Every night I had a dream. I had the craziest dreams in the world. I had a dream of me being in my neighborhood, being in a hospital bed, rolling in my hospital bed. And then, I remember the doctors used to come to me I used to tell them, I'm going to be all right. When can I go home so I can get better? And they should look at me crazy like, Jonathan, you understand you're going to be handicapped for the rest of your life? I said, no, I'm not. And because I played football and I went to a football injury, my mindset was, this is a football injury. If you ever broke an ACL, that's excruciating rehab to get back in shape, to be able to walk again. And that's kind of how my mind went in my head, even though the doctors told me evidence around me looked like I would never walk again. Mm-hmm. I looked at it as a football injury. And I went against everything the doctors told me. They tried to put me on these bracelets, which I refused. They tried to put me in a nursing home because I was that bad off. I refused. I wanted to go home. And I remember when I went home, I couldn't even go upstairs in my house because I couldn't walk. I remember when I finally came home, I have to be in the hospital for 6 months, going to rehab where I was only a young person there. I used to cry because I didn't know. The doctors was telling me one thing, but my mind was telling me something else. I was confused, but I was still determined that I'm not going to be handicapped. And I think the changing point in my life is my son. He was 14 now. When he came and saw me for the first time after the hospital, he looked at me and he was scared, like, oh my gosh. That was the worst feeling in the world when your kid is scared to touch you. And in my mind, I thought to myself, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make sure that my son can play with me, jump on my back, and I can be a dad to him. So he was my motivation in getting myself back together. And kind of was the beginning to where I'm at today. I had to go through that. And I lost my first marriage due to that. Because, doctors said one thing, and again, evidence was there. I was not functional, I wasn't walking, I wasn't there. Evidence was there. And my wife at that time, which I understand, you didn't sign up for that. you know, it happened where I felt less of a man for a long time. I shut myself away from everything because I just felt so less. I was handicapped. I probably went to about 20 something surgeries that I had to go to. And I mean, if you see me now, you would never know because, again, it's the football in me. And I went to all my surgeries. I went from being in a walker to being on crutches to being on a cane to walking.
Wow.
And that was all me and my determination. I remember being dropped off. I remember when I was in the wheelchair, Kelly, I respect handicapping 100%. I used to go to get dropped off at the mall. They forget about me. And they would be hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I'd be sitting there like, nothing I can do. Can't go use the bathroom. Can't do nothing. I don't want to go in description, but nothing I can do. I'm here. Like, I can't tell somebody to roll me to the bathroom. No, I went through that, And I guess it was more reason why I wanted to be better because I didn't want to depend on nobody.
Yeah.
Because I went through it where I sat there and you know, I went through it. But and I went through all my surgeries. I remember I had a year later after the accident, a year later, my stomach, I walked around like I was 6 months pregnant because my intestines stuck out. If you ever know, your intestines are real long. So what they did is they took the skin off my calves and covered my stomach. So my intestines was out here like I was 6 months pregnant. And I used to walk around, people used to look at me like, hey, why does his stomach look like that? And I got tired of it. So when I went to the doctor, he said, what we can do is, we can put it back inside. We'll put mush in front of your stomach because that was the only way to do it. And I decided to do it. And it was literally 1 year after my accident. Everybody thought I was crazy. Like, it's on the 25th of May? I said, yeah. God in me said, well, God made it to me for the first time. Why would God not make me for the second time? I'm here. I'm walking. I'm talking to you. Yeah. I'm not going to be superstitious to go with that date. And again, the doctors told me I might not make it. It was an 8-hour surgery. Never forget. I remember I bought my first iPad. Bought my first iPad right before my surgery, and I had to get an epidural in my back for the surgery, and I woke up and it was okay. Wow. And then again, I had to learn how to walk all over again. Wow. I had to go learn how to walk all over again because what they did is messed up everything, and I had to go through it all over again. And I went through it, and then once I recovered, I asked my doctors, when can I go back to the gym? And it was like 2 or 3 months later, and here I am. I'm 125 pounds. But I was 39 years old, 125 pounds. So you can imagine how I looked. And as soon as he gave me the okay, I went to the gym. I literally went to the gym every single day. Wow. That when I finally went home, because again, I was going through a depressed stage. And like I said, I lost my marriage behind it. I felt lost a person. But something told me I need to go home. I need to go home. So I finally went home. I went around my friends because your friends are honest with you. And when they saw me, first thing my friend said, I thought you said you was in a real bad accident. I said I was. You don't look like it. Because by the time I worked out, I got my stuff together. Again, I was still going through borderline health issues, but you couldn't tell because I gained my weight, worked out, and by the time I got home, you know, I looked the same as they saw me before. And then, honestly, me going back home brought my confidence back because I was away from Philadelphia area where everybody knew what I went through. Where at home, only people who knew what I went through was my friends. So everybody else had no clue what had happened. And they treated me normal, whereas people here treated me like handicapped. And so when I went home, I slowly built my confidence back over a period of time. And I never forget when I finally went back to work after being out of work for 15 months. Thank God I had saved enough money because believe it or not, even though I went through all that, I didn't miss a bill. I didn't miss a payment. Thank God, I had saved money. I didn't miss anything. Minus me going through what I had to go through. And I finally went back to work. At this time, I was working at Yahoo. And I never forget when I went back, got myself together, and out back into the walk of life. I went to visit the rehab place that the guy told me I had to wear a brace for the rest of my life. And when I walked in there, they couldn't believe the sights of their eyes. Like they stopped. The lady literally dropped what she had in her hand. She looked like, oh my gosh, Jonathan? I'm like, yes. Because I was so strong-minded. I went against everything they said and went with my own will, my own desire. And I proved to them, like, look, told you I was going to be okay. And that was the beginning of the new me. Here I am today.
You said something, or you started to say something that I think is hard for a lot of people, given all that you've gone through. Is like, I was meant to experience this. Like, I was just meant to go through this. And I imagine that at that time, it didn't feel that way. Like, it didn't feel like it was probably more like, why did this happen to me? But you tell me, like, when did that mindset shift for you? Like, there's something that's going to come out of this that there's something on the other end of this that's better for me, even though this sucks. Like, and that's probably hard to even pinpoint, but what's your reaction to that?
I mean, you realize who your true friends are and the true people in and around your life. My kids has always been there, but you learn who's real to you and who's not. I will say I was very successful before, and when when they hit the ground, they ran away, and you realize who's true to you and who's not. Like I said, I lost my first marriage to it. That speaks there, and I just had to, I wouldn't want to do that ever again, but it's something you have to go through. It was faith, more God faith for me, because I don't know if you listen to gospel music. It was, a couple gospel songs that came out right around that time by individuals like James Fortune, which people might not know. He had this thing called Testimony, and it's that song spoke. I've been through this and I've been through that, but if you look at me now, you will never know. Yeah. I'm like, that's me. And then God wasn't ready for me. God had so much more for me to do, and these are songs that actually came out when that happened. I remember before I passed away, excuse me, well, which I did, passed away. They said I flatlined 5 times.
Wow.
Webster, which is Different Strokes, he passed. And I remember he died the same day I had the accident.
Oh my God.
And I woke up later after, I found out later after the fact, So here I am today. So again, I'm just happy, like I'm blessed.
And it's amazing that you can say that with such genuine truth to it too, to say like, I thought I lost my athleticism that I really prided myself on, because I couldn't do that. I couldn't be physical like that. I lost my marriage, right? Like I lost some friends, right? Like there are so many things that I had to lose or shed in order to come into this kind of new version of me. And even though you like wouldn't go through it again, it sounds also at the same time like you're not feeling resentful that it happens. There's something on this end of it that you said faith, and use faith a lot now, but also in the beginning, like you took that leap of faith, that no matter what anyone else said, like that faith was like unshakable for you.
Yeah. I saw my son's grandma the other day, and she brought it back to me how older people, they tell you the truth, and she told me some things how people prayed for me. A lot of people came, people who I did not know, prayed for me. Minus the fact that I lost my first marriage, but she was a part of me living also. Even though we're not together, the doctors gave up on me. Like, the one part when I told you I had to call somebody who I didn't know, couldn't even tell you who it was, called her and told her what happened. So when she finally made it to the hospital, the doctors told her she needed to sign some paperwork so they can give my organs to someone in need. And he said, no, I'm not signing anything for organs for anything. You're going to go back in there and save this man. And I was bad off. Like, I was not supposed to leave past that night. Made the doctors go back in there and do their job. Even the doctors was an amazement to see me afterwards. Like, when they saw me, I was in a wheelchair. I never forget. And they would stop like, oh my gosh, like, you're here. I'm like, yeah, I'm here. And I was so appreciative to life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I appreciate everything.
Did you ever question like, why me? Or did you ever want to just give up? Like it just all seemed like too much?
I've been a determined person all my life, especially like coming from where I come from. I didn't come from the best part of life. My mom didn't work. I grew up in the projects, I was a fortunate kid that knew how to play sports. And because I knew how to play sports, I had a better life in comparison to everybody I grew up with. Like, it was bad. Like, it was really bad coming up. But because, I took the opportunities that I had and I made something with the opportunities I had, which helped me make a difference in my life, period. So, that's me, I'm like, I always give back to the younger generations. Like, I believe in that because I was that little kid that the neighborhood had to raise. Like they say, take a neighborhood to raise a child. I was that kid because, I can't say I had a great life coming up. It was poor, dirt poor. But I remember being at 8 or 9 years old, I always knew that there had to be a better life. And I told myself, if I get older, I was always going to make sure that my kids didn't go through what I went through. Live by that. Like, my kids never had to be without anything. Neither one of them. My daughter's graduated college. My son's graduating high school. My other son, he's spoiled. They never had to go through any of the things I had to go through. So, my kids is my reason to live because, they depend on you. They come in the world, they depend on you. So you gotta do what you gotta do for them. So
Yeah, your legacy, right? I mean, so for those who might either be listening now or might catch the replay who are feeling like they're in a place where they're questioning, why is this crap happening to me? Or I don't know how I'm going to get through this, or I just want to give up. Or maybe they know someone that's in that bad place or just feeling stuck and like not, what's the point kind of thing. Um, Feeling like there's just so much like there was so much that was not in your control, so to speak, right? And the odds were, as you said, the evidence was kind of stacked against you. Yeah, and so there were, I'm sure, times when you were like, why? Like, this is intense. I don't know what to do, right? But here you are, able to walk despite what the doctor said, present. Look at that. Yes. Fully employed. But not only are you fully employed, Jonathan, you like are always doing and giving and helping people, even outside of your work and your business. You've been an entrepreneur, you're a husband, like you're a present father, and you have done the things, right? You travel, you do all of the things that help you to enjoy life. And of course there's always things that we can learn and grow from, right? In life, no one's perfect, no one ever gets to that no one ever gets to that place where like, oh, it's just smooth sailing forever. But you are in a completely different place now probably than you thought you would be 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Totally.
What do you want to say to them? Yeah.
Me going through what I went through, I'm a better me today. Better me. It's funny because, like I told you, I grew up where, it was poor. So, like, I was speaking to my mom the other day. I ain't gonna say we have the best relationship, but I love my mom, and I was telling her, what I was going through. She was like, "I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you." In my mind, I'm thinking like, I'm not doing nothing special. Just because it's normal to me, like normal, but in comparison to where my mom upkeeping and things that she had in her life, it's on top.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm still striving and striving and striving to do better and better and better. And I think that's kind of my mindset is. Give an example. If I can make 10 today, I can make 20 tomorrow. You're only as good as your last as yesterday. That's my mindset. And no matter where you're at in life, you can go up, sure can fall down. And you got to keep that you got to be humble, but be disciplined at the same time.
Yeah.
I believe in life, everybody has a season. There are some seasons where everything is going glory, 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 glory. Then there'll be a time where you're going to go through something. But my philosophy of life is you go through your storm. It's raining, it's thunderstorming, the winds are blowing, it's crazy. As soon as that storm is over, what's the first thing that comes out? The sun. Everything's get better. And that's how I live life. Even when I'm going through something, I know that I'm going to go through what I got to go through. But once that storm is over, the sunlight comes out. Now you reestablish yourself from that storm.
Yeah.
And that's a way of life.
Yeah.
Have your seasons and You just got to go with the punches and keep pushing.
Yeah, and sometimes what you lose, you gain in a different way, right? Like there's something more or different to gain, even though it feels like such a big loss, right?
Yep.
You have such a powerful story. And again, this is only part of Jonathan's story, but
And
I
that's,
mean, Jonathan is just such an amazing person. And I would just want to say, Jonathan, I'm so incredibly thankful that you're willing to share your story with us. It takes so much courage to go there, to actually share your story openly, publicly for anyone to hear. But I truly believe that when we do that, when we choose to share our most vulnerable, challenging stories that we've moved through and learned from and grown from, someone else out there needs to hear it. And some nugget in there, some nugget in here in your story, someone's going to benefit from, someone's going to be inspired by, it's going to help them take a step towards their own healing or towards their own growth. And I can't predict where that's going to go or who that's going to be or how it's going to play out. I just fully firmly believe that that's what's going to happen, right? And so
yep.
I'm so thankful for you. And in the kind of closing piece, I'm going to ask you two questions. One is, what is like one message you really want someone to hear that's in a bad spot right now or feeling stuck?
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If it's something that you're uncomfortable with, get used to being uncomfortable, spread your horizons. Eventually, you'll get comfortable with being uncomfortable and you just spread your horizons. Keep pushing.
Yeah. Wow. And then, do you look up to anybody in particular, whether it's someone you know personally or otherwise? And if so, why? So, for example, my person is Maya Angelou because she is a powerhouse in so many different ways, and just so many different aspects of life. I just feel so inspired in anything I read by her, anything I hear from her. And so I'm wondering if for you, whether it's someone you know personally or not personally, if there's someone you feel inspired by that you look up to.
Um, Believe it or not, even though, like I say, me and my mother didn't have the closest relationship, I remember when I was in high school, my mom decided to go back and get her college degree. That was the beginning for me
Mm.
because I see my mom want to better her life, to inspire me to better my life because up until then, I didn't even think about college. But when I seen my mother go back to college, I knew that's something I had to do. And because of that, she changed my life for the better.
Possibilities are endless, right?